Here's one of the biggest problems that I face as a deck salesman. Is people come in, they see all the different options, and it's really hard to actually make a decision about specifically what to get. One of the biggest things that you need to know is the difference between composite and PVC decking. When it comes to synthetic decking, those are the two categories broadly. Today, I'm going to talk to you about PVC. Composite decking is a combination of wood flour, like finely ground wood, recycled wood, and plastic, all mixed together and made into a long-lasting, sustainable material. PVC, on the other hand, takes out the organic component and ends up being entirely synthetic. So while there is wood grain in composite material, there is entirely plastic in PVC. Now, the question is, why would you want to go for something like that? And there's a lot of reasons. One of the main ones is longevity. So with something being entirely PVC, lacking entirely in any kind of organic material, it totally removes any kind of possibility of mold or natural deterioration. With it being fully plastic, there's no rotting, there's no deterioration of that sort, and what that leads to is a warranty that outlasts that of most composites. A lot of PVCs that we sell, for example, have a 50-year to a limited lifetime warranty. So we're talking fade and stain, and we're talking structural issues like cracking, splitting, and all of these kinds of issues that you might run into with a natural wooden deck. These things are eliminated with PVC, and so you have a much longer longevity. A lot of the other things that people like to focus on is the texture. So this isn't universally the case, but a lot of the time PVC is going to have a rougher texture than a composite will. Composites tend to be a little bit slipperier, grain tends to be a little bit tighter, and the consequence of that is that there is a higher slip resistance. PVC tends to go around bodies of water like pools, and it ends up being a lot less slippery. If you've got kids running around, that's something you might want to watch out for. If you're doing a dock of some sort, for example, something with constant water exposure, as well as, again, around a pool, around a hot tub, PVC could provide you some benefit because, again, water is not going to damage this at all because it's fully inorganic. You have to take into account the kind of environment that you're putting the material in. Another benefit of the texture component of PVC, beyond just the higher traction, is certain specialty textures that certain companies will provide. So, for example, the 𝘃𝗶𝗍𝗄 collection has a photorealistic image that they will print out and then cover up with PVC, and it's PVC all the way through, giving it this really nice photorealistic look, which is becoming increasingly popular. There's also certain products like this one right here, which has a bamboo capping, and that has two benefits primarily. One is the look of it. It looks very nice, it looks a little bit more natural, and the second benefit is the feel of it. You can actually feel the texture of it that feels a lot like wood. That's not something that you're really going to find as much with your standard composite. On a whole, PVC also tends to be cooler. Now, the rule that applies to composite is still going to apply to PVC. There's no way around it. Darker colors are going to get warmer. So if you're thinking about what you're going to put for the whole deck and you know you've got a lot of sunlight on your deck, you might not want to go with a darker color. PVC is not going to retain heat as a material as much as something like composite is, and so if you're really worried about heat and you just want to take that little extra step of making sure it's cooler, PVC might be the way to go over composite. Another very important consideration when it comes to this material as well is the joist spacing. So you've got your frame and you've got your wooden beams that are going beneath your material. I would strongly recommend 12 inches on center. Oftentimes for companies you can do 16 inches on center, meaning the beams can be 16 inches apart, and that's fine for warranty for a lot of companies, although I'd recommend you double check with the specific product that you're thinking about. But 12 inches on center, I always tell people, is going to make a difference. Oftentimes, anecdotally at least, this is what I've heard, it's going to feel more rigid, it's going to feel firmer, and PVC being a more malleable material, still having a long warranty, but being a more malleable material, 12 inches on center is a good call to have. So if you're ripping up a deck and you already have an existing frame and you're thinking about which material to go to, that might be an important consideration for you. If you already have 16 inches on center, let's say, you might want to beef it up, or you might just want to go with a composite, which is going to be firmer, even though it's going to have a lower warranty. The question is, should you go for composite or should you go for PVC? Is PVC necessarily going to be a better choice? Well, it all depends on your particular situation. You're going to have to think about whether the cost of PVC is going to be worth it for you. So remember, PVC on a whole, generally speaking, is going to be more expensive than composite. There are some really expensive composites that are the price of PVC. There's some really inexpensive PVCs that are going to be a similar price to composite, but on a whole, PVC is going to be more expensive. Is that what you want to go for? You have to think about whether you're getting a lot of water exposure. You're going to have to think about whether slip resistance is very important to you. At the end of the day, a lot of people will just go with composites, and I don't blame them. They cost significantly less, and it's still a very good quality material. If you can get away with a composite and these particular issues that PVC solves aren't a big issue for you, I would say save the money, get better bang for your buck, go with the composite. But if you're willing to pay just that little extra, or if you're looking for a particular look, like the photorealistic look, or specific color like the weathered teak, which is very rare in a composite, then pay the little bit extra, put down something that you're going to like for years and years to come. So there's your breakdown. That's everything that you need to know to get started about making a decision between composite and PVC. I hope that's helpful. If you've got any more questions, drop them in the comments below. Subscribe. We love to talk about decking, and we love to answer your questions. And as always, we're available by phone call. We're available here in store in our showrooms. Thank you for watching.